So today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a masterclass on efficiency. I'll be using the first game I played against Tiki Golems yesterday to demonstrate efficiency. If you are not familiar with my role on BWC, Bunny with Clock, we're like a team that plays in Indiana sometimes. I am the position 1, I guess you could say, the M1 carry. So this M1 carry role is a very important role to be extremely efficient on. Any time that you spend farming, any time that you spend fighting can be a make it or break it, truly, for like a game win. So what does efficiency mean to you guys?
In my eyes, to be efficient is just to have as little downtime as possible, that you're always taking advantage of whatever you can at that moment, whether it's, you know, taking your wave or stealing something out of their farm or taking your own farm, or you just hit money for a power spike, so you go ahead and you buy that item. Yeah,
that's a great answer. What we'll be doing to start is I'm actually going to showcase to you a very unique lane matchup that I have here. The reason this plays into efficiency is it dictates what I do in the laning phase. So I'll show you the sequence of what occurs here, guys. If we look here in the mid lane, we decided to put Lady Geist and Paradox into mid. I didn't expect to verse Paige Mirage. We actually expected to verse Mirage Abrams, but we are versing Paige. So I want you to kind of look here. We'll play this for a few seconds. I'll speed up a little bit, not to waste your guys' time. Speeding up here. I'm like, okay, I want to try to trade these guys my life drain. So I life drain the Paige, and look at what she does. She uses her barrier. And it makes the trade completely disadvantageous, and a new neuron forms in my brain. If you look at the cooldowns of Life Drain and Barrier, something very interesting appears. So Life Drain is a 30-second cooldown, right? 30-second, you can't reduce the cooldown, you can't change it. I mean, sure, if you buy cooldown, you can do that, right? Paige, her barrier is a 30-second cooldown. Like, I learned this like the day of the tournament. I was like, oh my god. Like, if you put Paige into Lady Geist, this is a complete counter matchup. Every time she life drains, you barrier, and it's a complete winning trade. So I don't know if this was intentional from Sneaky Golems, but it's a great counter matchup. So anyways, going back to the topic of efficiency, does anyone in the audience have any ideas on how this might, like, what are the implications of this revelation we had in the laning phase? Like, what are the implications that we know that this barrier completely counters our life drain in the context of efficiency? And in the context of efficiency, so in the context of staying rich, playing the lane, being efficient with your time, like everyone. Addy says, try to use life drain only when shield's down, I guess. Wouldn't it be net even since both are on CD with the same CD? After pitching the waves, go do boxes over trying to take trades. You could also use life drain to heal teammate. So the thing, I have a counter question to what some of the people said in the chat. So what happens if Paige does not use barrier until she uses life drain, until you use life drain? So she's not wasting barrier by any means. She's playing it perfectly and is waiting to barrier until you have your life drain in action. Yeah, box max. So essentially in this lane, what we're looking to do is we're looking to be as uninteractive with the lane as possible. And we are looking to farm as much as possible because the lane is very difficult to win given the Paige Lady Geist matchup. So if you notice here, what a lot of Lady Geists do is they put 2 points in the life drain because it's how you win lane, right? You get the 16.2 damage per second at first point, and then you get the 2-second duration on the second point. So if you notice, I shift my build away from the 2-point life drain, and I actually go, if we skip a little bit forward, I go max bomb. So I put 1 point in the bomb, I'll skip a little bit more forward, I put 2 points in the bomb, and then eventually I have it maxed. So I have 1 point life drain and max bomb, instead of 2 point life drain, max bomb. And this all comes with the realization that the Paige barrier makes it impossible for me to get value out of my life drain in laning phase. So I actually drew up something here on the whiteboard to kind of describe how we reach this conclusion. When you're in the laning phase, right, the way we reached the conclusion that we did about, okay, like, we cannot be interactive in this lane because Paige is just going to barrier our Lady Geist suck, and it is too hard to trade. So we consider 3 things. So this is what you guys should be thinking about in your games when you're looking to be efficient. You should be thinking about, okay, what is the enemy hero matchup? So I'll give an example. So 1.1a, Lady Geist versus Paige. And then we'll say barrier counters life drain. We should run boxes and not interact, assuming enemy Paige plays correctly. Nikita in the chat said, is it a good idea to force trigger barrier with life drain when Paradox gets ult? It's not a bad idea, right? That is in the scope of the idea where you're trying to win the lane. Right now, we're focused on just being as efficient as possible with our time. It's not a bad idea. And now the second thing, right, when we're thinking about things to do in lane when you get prio, I have time in game. So I didn't really talk about this point that much quite yet in our class, but does anyone have any idea on how time in game can influence the decisions you're making in lane? So here, when I run these boxes, it's lagging a little bit, but how does the time in game affect that? So I'm gonna let this play out and let it fix itself for a bit. So I'll write down some of the things you guys say here. So we have when things spawn. So that's great. So power spikes, sinners, buffs, gank potential, golden statues. So these are all good answers, guys. These are all good answers. Seth, so you just said something that I want to kind of pivot off a little bit. Changes what you prioritize. Yeah, exactly. Enemy health and location. So guardian health is a big one. So, okay. So the time in game dictates what you do on each wave, because I'll do a 2B here. If time in lane is 1 minute, there is nothing to do other than focus on lane. Nothing, no boxes / camps exist. If time in lane is 2 minutes, say greater than or equal to 2 minutes, there is small camp and there are boxes. So this is one way that the time in game dictates when you do certain things. If the lane, you know, you're 1 minute into the lane, you can't go and run boxes. So you need to just focus on the lane. If the lane is 2 minutes and beyond or equal to 2 minutes, your now choices expand. So at 1 minute, let me kind of draw with a smaller thing here. At 1 minute, it's like choice, lane. Let me try to draw this better. Lane. At 2 minute, your choice now is like lane and then small camp. And then it also is do a bigger box. Boxes. Does this make sense to you guys? Yeah, exactly. Higher time, more choices. Exactly. Hero respawn timers? Yeah, you know, that's another good one to add in. No, yeah, for sure. Like hero respawn timers is also really good. Yeah. I mean, okay, I will say they're a little less important in the laning phase than they are in the mid game. So for example, I don't know if you guys watched my mid boss video, but when the time of the game is 18 minutes and beyond, that is when mid boss get taken. So that is like probably the highest implication that hero respawn timers has. But yes, it does have implications in the laning phase, because if you kill an enemy hero very early on, you have like a 5-second window before the hero respawns to do something. Yes, it's true. The choices just go more and more and more, and you have more and more choice. So all these other things are good, by the way, guys. This is all good. But one thing that I really want to touch on is guardian health and guardian resist. What can you guys tell me specifically about guardian resists? And I'll write down here and game time. So what can you guys tell me about the correlation between guardian resist and game time? Decreases as the game continues. More time, less resist. Yes. Nerd emoji moment. Actually, it's 12 minutes. At 12 minutes, it used to be 10 minutes, but it got changed. So it's 12 minutes, max resist shred. What we know is that as the lane goes on, your tower will take more and more and more damage from each bullet. So for example, at 2 minutes, and then we'll say at 12 minutes. So we'll say at 2 minutes, 1 bullet might equal 5 damage. 1 bullet equals 50 damage. So this is essentially how these resists kind of work. So like minute 2, for each bullet, you do 5 damage. For minute 12, each bullet, you deal 50 damage. How does this and like this whole entire concept and idea, how does that have implications in efficiency? Do you guys know? Justice says, so early in lane, if you take good trades or a kill, you want to steal far more than damage guardians. Justice, you have just hit the freaking jackpot. And the way that we play Deadlock in the current meta for efficiency. This right here is the name of the game for the current meta. So that's why, you know, here in this lane, like if we look starting at 2 minutes, I'm on a box adventure. Like guys, I'm literally like Amazon delivery Geist. I'm running boxes, running around. So you'll see here, and we'll speed it up really quick. Like I'm just running boxes in between these waves. My teammates yell at me as soon as a single minion shoots my guardians 3 minutes while I'm boxing. Well, Blastoise, the thing is, like, those people, they're just misinformed. They're not, like, stupid or anything like that. That'd be kind of rude to say, but they're just misinformed. And that's why you guys, you know, you're freaking in the academy. You're fucking getting all the juice, all the information, you know? What we're talking about here, guys, is not just important for my role. Okay, yes, like, maybe it's way more important to have these timers here down to the freaking science and all these things down here to the science, but these are all things that every hero in the game should be doing, in my opinion. Factually, because your guardian takes less damage early and more damage later, if you ever want a box run, it's better to do it early. If you ever want to take a camp, it's better to do it early instead of later when your tower takes way more damage. Is it good to take longer box runs / do camps and allow your teammate to take a wave solo? In a team setting, yeah, I would say. In matchmaking, it depends. Like if you're confident in the player you're funneling those waves to, you can. Just as a reference, for example, in this lane here, Cool Cheese is my teammate, so he was funneling me a lot of these waves sometimes in the lane. But I will show you guys here all the respawn timers for these camps, medium camps, large camps, Sinner Sacrifices. I will say, for me personally, the timers that I have memorized down to a science is I have small camp memorized, I have box memorized, I have medium camp spawn memorized, large camp spawn memorized, Sinner Sacrifice spawn memorized, respawn memorized. I don't know large camp respawn. I'm still learning it, like in my head. And I don't know medium camp respawn. But everything else, I would recommend for you guys to try to have down. More box at 5 minutes if you miss buff. Yeah. And by the way, the big thing to note here, guys, is time is not the only thing you're thinking about. So if we go back here to the beginning of the whiteboard, it says things to consider in lane when prio, enemy hero, time in game, and your hero. So I'm not saying, okay, every time at 2 minutes, run boxes. What if you're playing like a Drifter and, I don't know, Drifter Vindicta, or like a Drifter Sinclair, Drifter Paradox? You might want to start that game early, you know, get going with kills and tower damage because you're playing Drifter that spikes very early. Now, if you're playing something like Ivy can't contest early, if at all, in the lane. So Ivy is going to run much more boxes. How important is the bridge pyro in lane? For mid lane, it's extremely important. Do you not think much about mid boxes? I'm not going to lie. A little self-exposed. I don't really think about it that much. I should be thinking about it more though. What would you do on Vindicta? Oh, Vindicta spikes at 4.8k souls and level 2 snipe. So mainly I'm just stalling out the lane until I get there. What I was gonna get to, guys, the last thing you need to consider when you have lane prio is your hero. So you're already having a little bit of discussion in this, like that in the chat, where it's like, okay, if you're playing Drifter, right? Look at Drifter's spikes. Drifter gets his Ren spike at first ability point, right? So he's going to be wanting to fight and use his Ren much more earlier. Now, Ivy, on the other hand, doesn't really spike until later in the game, like later. She's not going to really want to fight in lane at all. She's probably just going to want to chill and vibe. And you can also think about it in like a investment threshold perspective. So if you're waiting for your 4.8k spirit spike on maybe your Vindicta or Wraith, you might just opt into box run until you hit that spike. All right, so there's 2 more things I want to get to when it comes to efficiency. All right, let me ask you guys this. Why when I farm this camp here, so you'll see here I go to this camp, I shoot it a little bit, and I leave.